The rain hit the windshield like it wanted to break through. Wipers squeaked back and forth in slow rhythm as Logan stared at the empty road ahead. No music, no GPS, no texts, just silence and escape. The clock on the dashboard glowed red. 2:46 a.m. His phone was powered off in the glove box. Her contact? Deleted. Not blocked. Just gone. He whispered to himself. That's all I got left now. The word felt strange in his mouth. For 10 years, it had always been we. We're heading out. We'll be there. We'll figure out. Marriage turned I into us, until us turned into me watching her betray everything behind my back. Logan didn't scream when he found out. No confrontation. No chair thrown across the room. He just sat down and watched the video feed. Her and Brandon all tangled up in the bed he paid for. The same bed she cried in after her father died. The same sheets she once said smelled like home. He didn't leave that night. No, he waited. He packed slow, erased his tracks, cleared the bank accounts legally, set up a P.O. box, hid cameras, burner phones. Then he drove out of town with only one goal, to vanish. It had to be perfect. She couldn't know he knew. She couldn't see the anger. Because Logan wasn't looking for closure. He wasn't chasing apologies. He was after something colder. Understanding. He wanted to see how long it would take her notice. How long until the woman who once cried if he missed a dinner realized the side of the bed had stayed empty for days. How long does it take for someone to miss the man they swore they loved? Hey, if you're still watching, that means you're enjoying the story. I have one small request. I'm trying to reach my first 1,000 subscribers. If you like stories like this, please hit the like button and subscribe to join the journey. It means a lot to me, and trust me, even better stories are coming. Riley took a photo of her coffee, filtered it in warm tones, and posted it with a caption, "Mornings like this #grind mode." She didn't notice the dog bowl was empty, or that Logan's boots were missing from the entry rack. She didn't even blink when his truck wasn't in the driveway. She assumed he had a job out in Sandpoint. He was always working early, always quiet, predictable. That was day 1. By day 3, she started to pause. The laundry pile hadn't moved. His charger wasn't plugged in. Still, she didn't panic. She told her friend Mia, he's probably off the grid for a bit. Logan gets weird when he's stressed. But inside, something itched at her gut. A quiet throb. On day 5, she called his cousin Derek. Hey, has Logan been around? He mentioned helping you with the furnace. Derek replied, What? I haven't seen him in weeks. Her hand trembled a little after hanging up. Still, she posted a mirror selfie like everything was fine. She kept up the illusion, smiling through fake lashes and sponsored leggings. She didn't go to the police. Not yet, because deep down, she was scared of what they'd find. Or maybe she was scared Logan had finally had enough. That maybe, just maybe, he'd figured it out. By day 7, she opened his closet. It was half empty. Day 8, she couldn't log into their joint account. Day 9, she walked into the bedroom at midnight and just stood there. His side of the bed looked untouched, like a ghost slept there. She whispered, Logan. The only answer was the distant hum of the fridge. Logan sat in a tiny one-bedroom apartment with peeling paint and bad lighting. A black laptop glowed on the table beside him. 3 live feeds played at once. The hallway cam, the living room cam, and a bedroom cam. Riley was pacing, talking to someone on speakerphone. She looked anxious, tired. That made Logan smirk. After everything she did, she still hadn't said his name on camera. He opened a notepad. The top of the file read, after he typed under it, after she cheated, after she lied, after she laughed at me with Brandon, after she said he's too soft to leave, he watched her as he typed. She had no idea where he was. No clue how much he'd seen, or how long he'd been watching. This wasn't a breakup. This was a countdown. Every day, she spent pretending. He peeled back another layer of her lies. Logan wasn't running away. He was circling her life like a quiet storm, pulling her comfort away piece by piece. The house? His name. The accounts? Already drained. The car? Leased under his LLC. The dog? In his passenger seat right now, sleeping. All that was left was her image. And when that crumbled, she'd have nothing. After trust breaks, he whispered, You don't fix it. You bury it. He leaned back in the chair, sipping cheap gas station coffee. On screen, Riley finally sat down, rubbed her face, checked her phone again. She said out loud, "Where the hell are you, Logan?" He smiled at the screen. "Now you're asking the right question." Logan had replayed that moment 100 times. It was 2 months ago, a Wednesday night. Riley was in the shower. Her iPad was unlocked on the kitchen counter. Notifications were sliding down the screen like they owned the place. The one that caught his eye read, "Still thinking about last night. I can't stop." Brandon Logan didn't react, didn't yell. He just picked up the iPad and swiped up. The texts were raw, blunt, dirty. She was sharing things with Brandon she'd never even said to him. Positions, locations, little jabs at Logan's boring energy. The worst part wasn't the sex. It was the jokes. She said, "He could walk in and still wouldn't notice. He's that clueless." That line stuck, like a nail in his chest. Logan didn't confront her that night. Instead, he kissed her forehead, said, "I'll grab groceries tomorrow," and walked away. That was the moment the marriage died. Quiet. Surgical. From then on, he was just acting. He installed the camera system the next day while she was at the gym, synced to a private cloud account. Every movement recorded. Every call she made in their house was his now. He discovered things he wasn't ready for. Conversations with friends laughing about the affair. Photos hidden in cloud folders. A second phone number she kept under a fake name. Logan leaned forward in his chair now, watching her cry in her hands in real time. "You thought I wouldn't figure it out?" he muttered. "You didn't just cheat, Riley. You trained for it." "My wife," Logan said quietly, watching her on the monitor. "That's how I used to refer to you." It wasn't possessive. He'd never been that guy. Never tracked her, never checked her location, never asked why she was 5 minutes late. He gave her space, gave her freedom, he gave her trust. And now, he watched her toss her phone across the room like a teenager who lost a TikTok deal. She wasn't grieving. She wasn't missing him. She was annoyed she'd been left behind. Logan opened a folder on his laptop titled My Assets. It listed everything. 401k rolled in a private account, joint checking emptied, house deed transferred, under LLC business accounts locked down, mortgage redirected. He'd spent the last 3 months building a slow exit behind her back. Every move was calculated, legal, quiet. He didn't want revenge through rage. He wanted it through ownership. This wasn't about hurting her. It was about making sure she lost everything she never appreciated. "My wife," he said again, "used to mean the person who'd guard my heart." He stared at the screen. Now it meant the woman who joked about his worth while climbing into someone else's car. He closed the laptop slowly. It was time to move to the next step. He picked up a new prepaid phone and typed one message. "To Camille, Brandon's wife, you don't know me, but I know what they've done. If you want the truth." "How about proof? Want to talk?" He hit send, sat back. "My wife," he said it one last time, then never again. Camille stared at her phone, unsure if this was some kind of prank. The message was too specific, too calm, too clean. Her husband Brandon had been distant lately, quick to shower when he got home. New cologne, sudden gym obsession. She felt it in her gut. Something was off. She replied with just 2 words, "Send everything." Meanwhile, Riley was in her bathroom, applying concealer under her eyes. She turned to Brandon on FaceTime and said, "Do I look like I've been crying? Be honest." Brandon laughed, smug and casual. "Nah, you look hot. Sad but hot." "I hate how dramatic he's being," she said. "Like disappearing? Who does that? You sure he didn't find out?" She paused, just for a second. "Nah," she said. "Logan's soft. He's not that guy." She didn't know Logan had just finished uploading a 3-minute highlight reel of her lies, affairs, and betrayal. He titled the video, "My Wife's Affair, The Truth She'll Never Tell." It was in a private folder. Only Camille had the link. And when she watched it that night, she didn't cry. She called her lawyer. Logan watched both women's reactions on split screens. 2 sides of the same lie, one in the spotlight, the other in the shadows, both about to feel the same storm. Brandon liked to think he was in control. He pulled up to the gym in his matte black Charger, adjusted his designer hoodie, and texted Riley. "Parked out back. You coming?" Riley slipped out the employee exit, looked around, and slid into the passenger seat like she'd done it a dozen times before. Because she had. They didn't talk much on the drive. They never did. It was all tension and touches. All thrill, no substance. What Logan gave her in loyalty, Brandon gave her in chaos. And that was enough to keep her hooked. But Brandon wasn't careful. He talked too loud, bragged too much, and Logan had audio recordings of all of it. He watched them now on the feed from Brandon's car dash cam, a hidden second phone Logan planted the week before. Brandon said, "He's gone, babe. You won." Riley rolled her eyes. "It's not about winning. It's about moving on." "Then move on with me. You still haven't told Camille." Brandon went quiet. Logan paused the feed, zoomed in on Riley's face. Cold, sharp, like she was already practicing her next lie. This wasn't an affair of love. It was two selfish people chasing what they thought they deserved. Logan saved the clip, titled it, "Affair, Statement of Intent." This wasn't for court. This was for public ruin. And when he was done, they'd both wish he'd just yelled the day he found out. Logan still remembered the night. He quietly took everything. It was raining that night, too. A weird kind of symmetry. Riley was out with the girls. He knew better, so he made moves. He pulled the hard drive from the home office, changed every password, transferred the house deed into a shell company he created 6 months earlier under the name Eastland Ventures. The account balance dropped from $83,400 to $2.17 in 48 minutes. He even took the dog, Scout, who followed him to the truck without hesitation. On his way out, he stood in the hallway and looked around. Photos on the wall, their wedding frame, that stupid live, laugh, love sign she bought from a discount store. He didn't smash anything. He just took back what was his. His time, his energy, his peace. Back in his new apartment, Logan watched Riley enter the house later that night. No reaction. She didn't even notice Scout was gone. She grabbed a protein bar, scrolled her phone, and FaceTimed Brandon. He watched her laugh like the world was fine. And he realized she was never going to feel guilty. Not unless he forced it. So he set a timer on his phone. A reminder. Day 1. She still doesn't see it. Logan looked at the note and whispered to himself, "Let's see how long it takes for her to figure out what I took." Day 9. Logan sipped his coffee, eyes on the screen, watching her finally unravel. Riley stood in the kitchen, pacing, her hair a mess, mascara faded under her eyes. Her phone was on speaker, but no one was answering. Not Brandon, not her mother, not even Mia, her ride or die. She sat down, stared at the floor, and said it out loud. "Where the hell are you?" Not angry now, not mocking, just scared. She walked into the bedroom and stood next to the bed, looked at Logan's side. Untouched, cold, empty. She finally noticed. But too late, because Logan was already preparing the next blow. He clicked a button on his laptop and started uploading the affair breakdown video to a private site. It was raw, time-stamped and brutal. Side-by-side clips. Her lies. Her laughter. Brandon's promises. The receipts. Then he hit record and spoke directly to camera. "If you're watching this, you know how betrayal looks. But I want to know something." He leaned in just slightly. "Tell me, where are you watching from? What city? What corner of the world are you sitting in while someone else's life burns in real time?" He smiled, but not with joy. "Drop in the comments. I want to see how far the truth travels." Then he clicked upload. Game on. Riley finally called the police. Not to report Logan missing, no. She called to ask if they could do a wellness check just in case. She was careful with her words. She didn't want this going public. Yet. But the officer on the phone asked a question that hit her harder than expected. "When's the last time you spoke to him directly?" She hesitated. 9 days ago, I think." There it was. 9 days. 9 full days without contact. And she hadn't panicked until now. 9 days of pretending it didn't matter. 9 days of Brandon whispering, "He's probably off somewhere feeling sorry for himself." She sat on the edge of the bed, pulled her knees to her chest, and stared at the bedroom door. The silence felt heavier now. Realer. She checked her phone again. DMs were piling up. Not from friends, but from strangers. Messages like, "Where's your husband, Riley? Saw your man in that video. Messy. You didn't think it'd go viral?" The video Logan uploaded? Leaked. A screen recording had made it to Twitter. Then Instagram. Then Reddit. People were dissecting her life in real time. Someone even made a reaction video titled, This woman didn't notice her husband was gone for 9 days? Riley turned off her phone, but the damage had already escaped the screen. Every day after that felt longer than the one before. The gym cut her hours to protect the brand. 2 sponsorships pulled out. Mia, her best friend, stopped responding to texts. Brandon wasn't answering either. She called 6 times. And the worst part? The silence. No news from Logan. No threats. No demands. Just nothing. Each new day felt like a slap. Like time itself was punishing her. Day 10. She tried messaging Logan on Facebook. Please just let me know you're alive. I am worried. No reply. Day 11. She posted a picture of them together, captioned, I miss this. Comments were brutal. You miss him now? Girl, he's building a life without you. Too late for love posts. She deleted it within the hour. Day 12. A package arrived at her front door. No name. No return address. Inside, a single flash drive. A sticky note attached. You'll want to watch this alone. She locked herself in the room, shaking as she plugged it in. The file loaded. It was footage of her. Dozens of clips. Conversations. Laughs. Lies. And Logan's voice over it, calm and quiet. You said you were honest. You said I didn't need to worry. You said you loved me. That's what you said every day. He paused. And this is what you did every day. Logan stood at a scenic overlook, wind cutting across his jacket. Scout sat at his feet, watching the clouds roll over the hills. The flash drive had been delivered. The message had landed. He didn't feel satisfaction. Not yet. This wasn't about hurting her. It was about guiding her straight into the wreckage she caused. The letter he left inside the package had just 4 words. To lie is easy. He could have written more. He could have told her she broke him. But Logan wasn't here for emotional closure. That was her fantasy, not his. He pulled out a second envelope from his coat pocket. This one for Brandon's wife, Camille. Inside, screenshots of messages, a written timeline voice, recordings, receipts. He included one note. To stay silent is to protect the wrong one. You didn't deserve this. Then he slid it into a Dropbox and walked away. Back at his apartment, he opened his laptop. A new message was waiting. From Camille, I got it. We need to talk. He closed the message and leaned back, breathing in deep for the first time in weeks. Everything was falling into place. And the next move was hers. Riley woke up to banging on her front door. It was barely 7 a.m. She opened it in a hoodie and sweatpants, hair pulled into a knot. A man in a black delivery jacket handed her a legal envelope and walked off without a word. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a printed tweet with over 250,000 views. She didn't notice her husband was missing for 9 days. He noticed her cheating for 4 months. Below were screenshots, her texts, her location pings, her laughing with Brandon, circled in red. She dropped the paper and stumbled backward like it physically hit her. The phone buzzed again. Another anonymous number. This time, a video link. New reaction. Riley didn't notice compilation. She didn't watch it. She didn't have to. She ran to her laptop, opened every account she had. Her DMs were chaos. Her sponsors had emailed notices. One even tagged her in a statement. We've cut ties with Riley Ford. We do not condone infidelity or public dishonesty. Her face was everywhere, but not as an influencer anymore. She was a meme, a warning, a punchline. She walked into the bedroom, sat on Logan's side of the bed, and whispered, "How did I not see this coming?" Her voice cracked. That side of the bed still looked the same. Neat, unmoved, cold. It hit her all at once. He didn't just leave. He planned it. She finally noticed. Logan watched her breakdown on a live stream. It wasn't staged. No filters. No background music. Just her, sitting on her kitchen floor with a hoodie pulled over her head. She said, I didn't think it would get this bad. I didn't think he'd really leave. I thought he'd get mad. Maybe yell. Maybe sleep at Derek's for a few days. But I never thought he'd just disappear. She looked dead into the camera. I don't know if he's okay. I don't know where he is. And I don't know who I am without him. Logan paused the stream. Not out of guilt. Out of clarity. She wasn't grieving him. She was grieving what his presence did for her. The image. The comfort. The stable man she could use as a soft background to her wild decisions. That was her version of my man, something to lean on, not love. He opened a note on his desktop, one of the last things he'd written the day before he left. My final message to her: never sent you didn't cheat because I lacked something. You cheated because you lacked everything and thought I couldn't see it. He closed the window. There would be no final message. She had enough words now. Riley sat in the passenger seat of her own car. She hadn't driven in 2 days. Couldn't face people. Couldn't walk through the gym without seeing the looks. She leaned her head against the window and stared into the street. The passenger side had always been his side. The side where he'd drive her to late-night ice cream runs. The side where he'd sit and listen when her dad was sick. The side where she used to feel safe. Now it was empty. Just like the bed. Just like her DMs. Just like the bank account she tried to log into this morning. Empty. She whispered, "What did I do?" She finally texted Mia. "I messed up. I think I lost him for real." No reply. She scrolled her photos. Found an old one. Logan sleeping, Scout curled up on his chest. Her favorite at the time. She almost posted it again. Almost. But she didn't want more comments. Instead, she whispered to the empty seat next to her. "If you were here, what would you say?" The seat didn't answer. But deep down, she already knew. There's a kind of silence you only hear when your world changes. Logan remembered that silence well. It was the night before their anniversary, almost 1 year ago. They had dinner reservations. She came home late, claimed she forgot, already ate with the girls. He said, "It's okay. I'll warm up leftovers." That night, he sat on the couch while she took a shower. She left her phone charging on the armrest. It buzzed once. Just one message. Last night was Logan didn't open it. Didn't need to. He stared at the screen for 20 minutes, heartbeat steady. He knew. That was the night everything was different. But he didn't say a word. Didn't fight. He just made a note in his head. That was the last night she was his wife. The rest was just acting. Now, back in the present, Logan stood in an empty parking lot under a gray sky, watching raindrops hit the pavement. He pulled out his phone and opened an old photo. Riley laughing in the snow. Back when she was real. Or maybe back when he was still blind. That was then, he said quietly. What I'm doing now, this is survival. He slid the phone into his jacket and walked away from what was. Riley was locked out of her own life. She opened her Chase banking app, declined. Tried the joint account, frozen. She called customer service, using her polite voice. The woman on the phone asked calmly, "Ma'am, are you aware your name was removed from this account 7 weeks ago?" Riley froze. "No, that's not possible. It was done legally. Documentation is on file." She hung up before she could cry, before the woman could say anything else that would remind her she was no longer in control. The mortgage? Late notice. The car? Leased under Logan's business. Defaulted in 2 days. The dog? God, she hadn't even realized Scout was gone until yesterday. She curled up on the floor next to the couch. Same spot where she once laughed with Brandon on FaceTime. It all felt like a movie now. A dumb, arrogant scene from a life that had vanished overnight. She whispered, "I thought he was weak. But weakness doesn't do this." This was power. Quiet, cold power. He'd hollowed her life out from the inside. She opened her phone again, numb fingers scrolling through old messages with Logan. One stuck out. "I'm not loud. I'm not flashy. But I remember everything." She closed her eyes. He wasn't lying. Camille stared at the wall of her home office. On it were printed texts, photos, receipts, all pinned and highlighted with different color markers. She had always been quiet, the type to let things go. But now, something had shifted. Her husband lied. Her home was poisoned. And now she had allies. She replayed Logan's files again and again, watching how calm he stayed, how careful. It impressed her and lit a fuse. She picked up her phone and called a private investigator. "I want a full breakdown on Brandon Ford," she said. "Financial, personal, professional. If he's hiding anything, I want it." The man on the other end said, "I already started. Your friend Logan gave us a head start." Camille hung up, walked over to her laptop, and opened a draft email titled, "To whom it may concern, legal notice of harassment, emotional damages, and defamation." It was addressed to Brandon's business partners, sponsors, and clients. Attached? Everything. She pressed Save Draft, then looked at herself in the mirror and whispered, You want a storm, Brandon? Good. You married one. The invitation came as a text. Simple. Clean. Let's talk. One last time. Tonight. Same place. Just us. B. Riley stared at it for a while. She hadn't heard from Brandon in days. He went dark right after the video leak. Coward. But this looked like a chance to reset. She replied, I'll be there. She spent hours getting ready. No more fake tears. Just eyeliner sharp enough to cut, and a fresh coat of lipstick. What she didn't know was Brandon never sent that text. Logan did. He cloned Brandon's number using a spoofing app, tracked Riley's calendar, and booked a fake dinner reservation at a downtown hotel. At 8:17 p.m., Riley walked into the hotel bar, scanning the room. She spotted a figure in the corner. Her stomach dropped. It wasn't Brandon. It was Camille. Camille stood slowly, arms crossed, calm in a way that only rage can shape. Sit down, she said. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to educate you. Riley didn't move. You want to play house with my husband? Camille asked. Fine. But you better be ready to lose everything he lied to me to build. Outside the glass window, Logan watched from across the street, sipping coffee from a paper cup, phone recording the entire thing. Step by step, they were folding in on themselves. And the trap? It hadn't even fully snapped yet. The next morning, Brandon's name was everywhere. Screenshots, audio clips, allegations. Camille's carefully written statement went viral. She exposed not just the affair, but financial lies, shady business practices, unpaid taxes. Brandon's Instagram account got locked. His sponsors disappeared. Clients backed out in hours. He called Riley in a full panic. Why the hell did you show up to that hotel? You walked straight into a setup. Riley hissed back. You sent the text. I didn't text you. I don't even have your number saved anymore. The silence after that hit harder than yelling. They were being played, and only one person had the knowledge and the motive to do it. Logan, Brandon said quietly. It's him. Riley collapsed onto the bed. Her whole body felt heavy. Why didn't he just confront me? She whispered. Why didn't he scream or hit something like a normal person? Brandon replied, because guys like him don't flip tables, they pull strings. And Logan? He was already 10 steps ahead. Logan stood at the edge of an overlook, watching morning fog lift off the valley. He didn't feel joy. He didn't feel anger. He felt cold. Not cruel. Not heartless. Just done. Everything had unfolded exactly how he mapped it. Brandon was buried in legal fires. Riley had become a public warning label. Camille had power now, and allies. He checked his phone. A message from Camille. He's trying to reach me now. Begging. Thank you for everything. Let me know when you want to go nuclear. Logan stared at the words. He could still destroy Brandon completely. There were more files, more receipts, things no one had seen yet. But the silence he had now, it was louder than revenge. He deleted Camille's message and let the phone drop into his pocket. Then he sat on a bench, looked out over the trees, and said out loud, You don't have to scream to burn it all down. Sometimes the cold is enough. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in weeks, he felt still. The house felt haunted now, not by spirits, by silence. Riley walked through the kitchen barefoot, arms crossed, eyes puffy. She hadn't slept right in days. Every corner of the house whispered Logan's absence. The missing things were louder than the ones still there. His old hoodie? Gone. The cast iron skillet he always used? Gone. The photo album in the drawer? Gone. Even the smell of him, that faint cedar and soap, had faded from the closet. She leaned against the kitchen counter and whispered, Where are you? Not like before. Not angry. Not suspicious. This time it sounded like a prayer. She heard footsteps. Turned quickly. No one there. Just a shadow on the wall from a tree outside. Logan wasn't haunting this house. Her guilt was. The ghosts she felt were her own choices bouncing off empty walls. She opened her phone again. Logan's number was still there. No profile pic, just his name. She typed out a message. I'm sorry. I didn't know I could break someone like this. She hovered over send, then deleted it. She didn't deserve the chance to say sorry. Not anymore. Logan knew she was unraveling. He could see it in her eyes during the live streams. In her late-night pacing on the living room camera she still hadn't found. in the way she'd stare at the bed like it might answer her. He didn't watch out of hate. He watched to study her downfall, to document the quiet price of betrayal. The worst part? There were moments he still felt something. Not love, not longing, just memory. He remembered how she used to hold his hand under restaurant tables. How she once cried when he surprised her with that dumb golden retriever mug. But those were just fragments now. Pieces of a person she buried herself. He opened a notebook labeled Final Moves. On the list, closeout surveillance, meet Camille, final transfer. One last visit to the house. Scout barked softly near the door, sensing Logan's tension. He looked down and whispered, "Almost done, buddy," then turned back to the screen. Riley was staring directly into the camera. Not the hidden one, but her phone. She mouthed something. He rewound, slowed it down. 3 words. "Are you watching?" He sat back. Didn't smile. Just said quietly, "Yeah, I am." Camille sat in her car outside Brandon's office, tapping her pen against the steering wheel. She didn't look like a woman scorned. She looked like a woman preparing a final statement in a courtroom. Her lawyer's file sat open on the passenger seat. Inside, evidence of Brandon's misused business funds, details of a fake consulting contract he used to send Riley money tax records with edited entries. She took a deep breath. Her phone buzzed. A message from Logan. "If you want to break him, do it now." While he's still lying to everyone but himself. She didn't reply. She didn't need to. She walked into the office with slow, confident steps. Walked straight past reception and into Brandon's glassed-off workspace. He looked up, startled. "Camille, what are you doing here?" She placed the folder on his desk and said, "This is the part where you stop pretending you're the victim." Brandon laughed nervously. "I don't know what Logan told you, but Logan didn't tell me anything I didn't already suspect," she cut in. "He just gave me proof. You gave me motive." He opened the folder and froze. Camille leaned in close, voice steady. "I'm not here to fight you, Brandon. I'm here to finish this." Then she turned and walked out, leaving him staring at the evidence with a face full of cracks. Not fear, not rage, defeat. The box sat on the passenger seat. Logan parked by the edge of Lake Coeur d'Alene. No one else around. The sky was overcast, wind skimming the water like it was carrying secrets. Inside the box were the last physical pieces of his old life. Printed photos, love letters, a torn copy of their wedding vows, a necklace he once gave her during their first Christmas together, one of Scout's old collars, and a napkin with the words, "Let's never lose this," written in her handwriting. He built a small fire pit from stones near the shoreline. Cold wind against his back. No music, no drama, just closure. He dropped the napkin in first, watched it curl and blacken. Then the photos, one by one, feeding the fire like a confession. The necklace melted slow, its chain twisting in the heat. He crouched there, quiet, eyes locked on the flames. "This isn't revenge," he said aloud. "This is release." He tossed in the wedding vows last. They lit instantly. And with them, so did the part of him that still wanted answers, apologies, explanations. Gone. He stayed until the last flicker died, then got in the truck and drove off, the scent of smoke clinging to his jacket like the memory of something he used to protect. Camille stood outside the courthouse, file in hand, papers signed. Divorce in motion, assets frozen, lawyers aligned. But her real battle wasn't legal. It was internal. She could go public with the rest. She could bury Brandon so deep he'd never land another client. She had the files, the names, the timeline. She could end him. But Logan's last message lingered in her mind. Revenge feels good, until it becomes who you are. She sat on a bench under a tree and stared up at the branches. What was the right choice? What was the satisfying one? Could they ever be the same? Brandon had made his choices. So had Riley. Both had played with fire and got burned. And Logan, he chose silence and strategy. Now it was Camille's turn. She opened her email drafts, hovered over send all, then deleted the entire folder. She stood, straightened her coat, and whispered, "I don't need to finish you, Brandon. You'll do that on your own." Camille chose peace. Not because she was weak, but because she could afford to walk away clean. Riley opened her front door to a plain manila envelope on the mat. No return address. Inside, one typed page. The truth isn't always loud. Sometimes it just walks out quietly, knowing it was never yours to lie to. She read it 3 times, hands trembling. There was no name, no threats, no signature, but she knew exactly who sent it. She sat down on the steps, barefoot, robe wrapped tight, and for the first time she didn't cry. She just stared into space. Logan hadn't blocked her. He hadn't yelled. He hadn't cursed her out online like others might have. He just let the truth speak louder than any words ever could. Her truth? She ruined the only person who ever stood still for her when the world turned sideways. And now he was gone. Not missing. Not hiding. Just done. Riley didn't recognize the number. She was sitting on the floor of her living room, half a blanket draped over her legs, when her phone lit up. The message just said, "You've got mail." Front door. She opened it to find another envelope. Inside was a small USB drive. No label. No note. She hesitated for a second, then plugged it into her laptop. A video file popped up, titled simply, Play ME. The screen went black for the first few seconds. Then it cut to her voice, laughing, talking trash about Logan to Brandon, mocking his habits, his kindness, his boring loyalty. The video cut between conversations she thought were private. Phone calls, camera angles she didn't recognize. Even one clip of her walking past Logan in the kitchen, rolling her eyes the moment his back was turned. She watched herself, from his perspective. Then came the voiceover. Calm, cold. Logan's voice. "I didn't need you to love me forever. I just needed you to be honest while you did." Cut to static. End of file. She closed the laptop, chest tight, breath shallow. It wasn't the cheating that hit hardest anymore. It was the truth of who she'd become on camera. Who she really was when no one was watching, except him. And now the tape had spoken. Brandon's phone buzzed twice before he answered. "Hello." Camille's voice was calm, measured, scarier than if she'd screamed. "You're cut off." You try to play it cool. "Camille small. Let's talk." "I said you're cut off. Financially, professionally, socially. I sent the statement to every one of your clients." Silence. She continued. "I could have ruined you worse. I held back, Brandon. Logan didn't ask me to. I just didn't want to lower myself." He tried to defend himself. "You don't know the full story. I don't need to. I lived it." Call ended. Brandon stared at his phone, disbelief washing over him like cold water. He opened his email. Hundreds of messages. Cancel contracts. Refund demands. Media inquiries. His name was no longer an asset. It was a warning. Somewhere in the noise, he saw one more message. From unknown. "You lied to everyone, Brandon, including yourself. But don't worry. I didn't cut your throat. I just let your lies cut themselves." He slammed the phone down, and in the quiet that followed, he finally understood. Logan didn't destroy him. He just stopped protecting him. Logan sat outside a quiet diner off Highway 95. Inside, truckers sipped coffee, old couples shared pie, and life went on like nothing had burned behind them. He watched through the window for a while before finally walking in. Took a booth by the back wall. Ordered black coffee, nothing else. The waitress smiled and said, "You look like a man who's been through it." He smiled back. "I've been through worse than it looks." She walked off, and he sat still, just breathing. That hole inside him, it wasn't filled. It wasn't healed, but it wasn't wide open anymore. It had edges now. Structure. Control. He took out a small notepad from his coat pocket, flipped to a page titled, "What's Left?" He wrote, "I still have peace. I still have Scout. I still have my name. I still have time." He looked at that last line for a long moment. Then under it, he wrote, "And I still have the choice to move forward." He tore out the page, folded it once, and stuck it in his wallet. No drama. No fireworks. Just the first real step out of the hole. The sounds came back in pieces. Not out loud, inside Logan's head. Echoes of the words Riley used to say. The laugh she used to fake. The arguments she'd start just to feel something. The nights she turned away from him in bed, claiming she was tired, but texting Brandon beneath the sheets. Those echoes never came all at once. They came at stoplights, in the steam from his morning coffee, in the soft sound of Scout's paws on hardwood floors. Quiet reminders that he still hadn't escaped at all. Not completely. He was standing in the middle of a hardware store, buying supplies to fix a busted faucet in his new rental, when he heard someone say her name. "Riley? Isn't that the chick from the cheating video?" Two teenage boys stood at the checkout, laughing, showing each other a clip on their phones. She didn't even notice her dude was gone. 9 freaking days. Yeah, bro. She's a walking red flag. Logan didn't say anything. He just stood there, frozen in the aisle with a wrench in his hand and a calm look on his face. But inside, something cracked. Not because he still cared, but because this was what she'd become to the world. Not a person, a story, a meme, a joke. And for a moment, he felt nothing but weight. He drove home in silence. No music, no podcast, just Scout in the back seat, watching him in the rear view. The echoes stayed quiet that night, but they weren't gone. They never really leave. Riley opened the mail and froze. It was official. The divorce filing was in her hands. Legal. Signed. Processed. No court date needed. Logan had handled it cleanly. Quietly. The house? Liquidated. Her claim to spousal support? Waived. The clause he'd included read, no damages sought. No reconciliation requested. This is final. She sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where they used to play cards, share Chinese takeout, and laugh about dumb Netflix shows. Now, she was sitting there in silence, reading a page that felt like a death certificate. One line at the bottom stood out more than the rest. Marriage lasted 7 years. Trust lasted less. She didn't cry. Not this time. She walked into the bedroom, pulled open the drawer on Logan's side. It was still half empty. He hadn't taken everything, just the important pieces. Underneath an old receipt and a dead pen, she found a folded note. Her handwriting. A note she wrote him years ago during a rough patch. Don't give up on me. I promise I'll be better. We're bigger than this season. She stared at it for a long time. Then she placed it on top of the divorce papers and whispered, I was wrong. She picked up her phone, opened Logan's contact again, stared at the screen. But she didn't call, because she knew it wasn't his story anymore. It was paper now, signed, sealed, over. It had been 2 full weeks since Logan had heard her voice. Not through live streams, not on camera, not in interviews, nothing, just silence. He checked her page once more, just to be sure. Gone. No new posts, no stories, just a blank profile picture and a handle that now read at formerly Riley. He exhaled slowly, not sure if it was relief or something heavier. People don't usually go quiet unless something finally broke. He walked outside, phone still in his hand, and stared out at the pine trees swaying in the wind behind his rental. He didn't want her ruined. That's the thing no one understood. He didn't want her destroyed. He just wanted distance, clarity, justice. Now that he had it, he wasn't sure what to feel. He called Camille. She answered on the second ring. You heard? Yeah, he said. Her page is gone. I got an email. Looked like an apology. Half of it sounded real. The other half sounded like PR. Logan nodded. She's not the same person anymore. Camille paused. Neither are you. He looked out across the trees, wind brushing his jacket collar. I think that's the point, he said. I wasn't trying to ruin her. I just wanted her to hear the silence she left behind. And now, finally, she was sitting in it. The rain came hard that morning. Logan had left the windows cracked just a little too much, and the smell of wet pine drifted into the kitchen as he brewed his coffee. Scout sat by the sliding door, ears perked, watching the downpour like something was coming. And something was. He got the call around 9:12 a.m., Camille. I think he's coming for you, she said. Logan didn't answer right away. I mean it, she continued. Brandon's unraveling. One of his partners leaked a voicemail. He's blaming you for everything. Logan stirred his coffee, calm as ever. I didn't force him to cheat on his wife. No, but you exposed him. And he's losing money, cloud identity. That man's not built for accountability. Logan said nothing for a long time. Then, I'm not worried. You should be. An hour later, he heard the tires. Gravel spinning outside. A hard, angry stop. Logan didn't move. He didn't flinch. He watched from inside as Brandon stepped out of his car, slammed the door, and stood in the rain. Soaked, red-eyed, pacing, like he was building up the courage to knock, or do worse. Logan walked to the front door slowly. Calm steps, opened it without a word. The two men stood in the space between the past and what they'd become. Brandon said, You did this. Logan de Blade. No. I just stopped covering for you. Brandon's fists clenched. You want to hit me? Logan asked. Do it. Go ahead. But remember, you're not just a liar now. You're a viral one. One more move, and you're finished. You hit me, and your reputation's dead before you get back in your car. Brandon didn't move. Rain soaked through his hoodie. His jaw worked, but he stayed silent. Then he turned, walked back to his car, and peeled out onto the road. The storm was over. Not because it passed, because it gave up. By the end of the week, Logan packed his final box. He wasn't running. This wasn't escape. This was evolution. The small rental house served its purpose, gave him the distance, the time, and the clarity to pull his life back together. But it wasn't a home. It was a battleground bunker. Now, it was time to step back into life. He loaded Scout into the passenger seat of a new truck, a used Ford with no flash and no memory attached. Everything in it smelled clean, not fresh, not new, just neutral, peaceful. He drove with the windows down, letting the mountain air push through the cab. A small town south of Missoula had a spot open. A fixer-upper house, nothing fancy, but land out back in enough space to feel untouched by old ghosts. Logan signed the lease in cash. The woman at the desk asked him if he was from around there. He just said, "Not yet." That night, he stood in the empty living room, staring at the unpainted walls, the raw potential. Then he unpacked one box. Inside, Scout's new bed, a coffee maker, and a single photo. Not of Riley. A shot of him and his brother from years ago, hiking through Idaho backroads, laughing at nothing. Before everything turned personal, he hung on the wall and whispered, "Let's build something new." And just like that, the shift happened. It came on a Tuesday. No warning. No knock. Just a plain white envelope tucked between a free pizza coupon and junk mail. No return name. Just a P.O. box from Spokane. Logan recognized the handwriting before he even opened it. He stood in his kitchen, Scout at his feet, as he opened the letter and unfolded the page. It was neat, careful, no crossed-out words, no missing ink, almost rehearsed. "Logan, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even think I deserve this letter being read. But if you are, thank you. That means I meant something once. I know now what I did wasn't just betrayal. It was erasure. I erased everything you gave, everything we built. I made fun of the one person who saw me, without makeup, without edits, without an audience. You were right to leave. You were smart to vanish. I would have stayed longer in the lie. You didn't. That's strength. I think about that night, the one where I joked about you not noticing. The cameras caught me laughing, but I was really laughing at myself. Because deep down, I knew I didn't deserve you. I'm not asking to be part of your life again. I just wanted you to hear something real. I lost the best man I ever knew. Not because he left, but because I gave him every reason to. If there's anything left in your heart for the version of me who once meant something, I hope she at least made you smile once." Riley Logan folded the letter. Didn't cry. Didn't crumble. He put it back in the envelope. Slipped it in the drawer. Not as a keepsake. As proof that he wasn't crazy for loving her once. But he was right to walk away. The envelope was heavier than it should have been. Logan stared at it for a few minutes before opening it. It was from the lab, sealed tight, his full name printed on the front. A quiet reminder of a question he never wanted to ask. Is the baby mine? Riley hadn't sent the letter with any threats or demands. She hadn't asked for money. No drama. Just a single line. You deserve to know if any part of this story still belongs to you. That shook him more than anger ever could. He opened the results at the kitchen counter, sunlight cutting across the floor. Scout was asleep by the back door, tail twitching. He scanned the first line of the report. Paternity probability, 0%. Logan didn't breathe for a few seconds. He read it again. Not his. Not his responsibility. Not his blood. Not his guilt to carry. He leaned back in the chair and let the silence hit him. Not loud, not overwhelming, just complete. It was over. Truly over. He didn't feel joy. Not even relief. What he felt was separation. Like the final cord had been cut, and he was floating clear of the wreckage. He folded the paper, tucked it in the drawer beside her letter, and whispered, "You made your choices. And now I've made mine." He poured himself a cup of coffee and sat by the window. The future was still unwritten, but at least now, it was his alone to write. Logan started walking again. Not for exercise, not for therapy, just to move, to breathe. Every evening after work, he'd put on his jacket, grab Scout's leash, and walk the edge of the forest line behind his property. No headphones, no phone, just nature and breath. He didn't post, didn't share, didn't explain. He just lived. The world still buzzed with distractions. Riley's name had finally stopped trending. Brandon's business folded quietly. Camille moved to Oregon and left behind nothing but a clean slate and one final message. We won. Quietly. But Logan wasn't chasing victory anymore. He was chasing stillness. One evening, while walking past the small bakery at the edge of town, he saw a light on. Open sign glowing red. Inside, a woman was sweeping. Late 30s, short hair, flowers still on her sleeves. Their eyes met through the glass. She smiled, not flirtatious, just warm. He nodded once and kept walking. No sparks, no romantic music, just the smallest flicker of something human, a reminder that life was still happening, even after betrayal, even after survival. The next night, she was there again. This time, she opened the door and said, "You look like you need a muffin more than a walk." He smiled, just a little. "I might," he said. "I just haven't figured out what kind yet." She handed him one. "Try blueberry. Sometimes starting simple works best." He took it, nodded, and walked away. No names exchanged. No backstory dumped. Just a muffin. In a moment. Sometimes healing doesn't announce itself. Sometimes it just waits and lets you come to it. It had been 5 days since Logan opened the lab results. He hadn't told anyone. Not Camille. Not the lawyer. Not even the guy at the post office who always asked him, "So, things better now?" Some things don't need to be shouted. He sat on his porch that evening, feet up, the world painted in gold from the fading sun. The results sat inside, but it didn't define him. For months, he let anger lead. Let strategy mask the hurt. Let justice pull him forward when grief threatened to drown him. But now he didn't feel like a man holding revenge. He felt like a man holding nothing. And that was better. Scout barked once, sharp and fast. A truck had pulled up down the gravel road. Not familiar. Not dangerous either. The bakery woman stepped out of the passenger seat. She waved when she saw him. He waved back. She walked up with a box in her hand. "Don't worry. Not muffins." He raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" "Lemon bars." And a question. He smirked. "Yeah." She hesitated, then said straight, "I think you've been through something. And I'm not asking for details. But if you ever want to have coffee and not talk about it, I'm around." Logan didn't answer right away. Then he looked up and said, "That sounds like exactly what I need." She smiled. He didn't ask for her name, because right now, the only result he cared about wasn't on paper. It was this. He was still standing. And he wasn't alone anymore. The town was quiet. Not in the nothing-to-do kind of way, but in the way that gave Logan space to breathe, space to think, and more importantly, space to stop thinking. He woke up early that morning. No alarms, just instinct. Scout stretched beside the bed with a low groan and flopped onto the floor, tail wagging slow. The sun was still low in the sky, sliding soft light across the wooden floorboards. Logan didn't check his phone, didn't look at emails. Instead, he grabbed his keys, his jacket, and headed out with Scout trailing behind. They walked a mile to a trailhead behind the hills, the same one he passed on day one when he moved in but hadn't touched since. He climbed to the top in silence. Just him, his dog, and the sound of breath and boots on earth. When he reached the overlook, he sat down on a flat rock, hands resting on his knees. And then, he just stayed there. No inner monologue. No mental lists. No plans for revenge. Just presence. He had nothing left to prove. Not to Riley. Not to Brandon. Not to anyone who ever doubted his silence was power. He'd let the truth burn through their lies. Let time rip their false comfort out from under them. And now, he wasn't rebuilding. He was ending the old version of himself. The man who needed to be understood. The man who thought loyalty could fix everything. He stood up, took one last look at the view, and whispered, "This chapter's closed." And it was. Back at home, Logan sat at his desk, a simple manila envelope in front of him. Inside, the final document he'd been putting off. A legal form. Name change request. Signed and stamped. He didn't hate his name. It wasn't about hiding. It wasn't about escaping her. It was about choosing who he was now. He scribbled his new last name down with clear, steady handwriting. It wasn't flashy, wasn't cool, but it was his. Just his. He looked at the framed photo on the wall, the one of him and his brother, younger, carefree, mid-laugh on some forgotten trail. That name, that kid, that version of him, it was buried in layers of pain and betrayal, yes. But beneath it, still breathing, was the man he'd become. He wasn't afraid to start again. Wasn't afraid to own what came next. He took the envelope, sealed it, and walked it down to the small post office by the town's edge. The clerk smiled. Big move. Logan nodded. Big enough. You want tracking? No, he said. I'm done looking back. And with that, he dropped the envelope through the slot. Not goodbye. Just new. Riley stood in front of a mirror in a gas station bathroom somewhere off I-90. She barely recognized the woman looking back. Hair tied up. No makeup. Hoodie loose around her shoulders. She looked tired. Older than she remembered. Not famous. Not followed. Just forgotten. Her phone was cracked. No notifications. The account she'd built gone. No backup. No platform. No brand. She stared at herself for a long time, then reached in her bag and pulled out the last thing she had left from that life. A Polaroid. The one Logan took of her on their first trip to Glacier National Park. She was smiling in it. Real smile. Borderfaucet. Windblown. Pure. She held it up next to her reflection and asked quietly, what happened to her? The mirror didn't answer. And for the first time, she didn't blame anyone else. Not Logan. Not Brandon. Not the internet. Not pressure. Not boredom. Just herself. She folded the photo in half, carefully, and put it in her pocket. Then she washed her face, pulled her hair back tighter, and walked out into the cold air without checking her phone. No status update. No post. Just a woman walking away from the mirror, finally ready to stop looking for excuses. It had been 3 months since Logan opened a message from Riley. Not because she hadn't tried. She had. A few short ones. A longer one, midway through the second month. And then silence. Like even she knew it was over, for real. Logan sat at his kitchen table now, a mug of coffee in one hand, staring at the last message she'd sent weeks ago. I won't bother you again. But I still think about you. I hope you're okay. He didn't reply. Not out of cruelty, but because there was nothing left to say. His world was clear now. There were no more loose ends. No more anger weighing down his steps. The cameras were gone. The backups deleted. The court files closed. The past had been boxed up, burned, or buried in quiet drawers he didn't open anymore. He looked around the house, small, imperfect, a scratch on the floor near the fridge from when he dropped the toolbox. A photo of Scout pinned to the fridge. A chipped mug with his initials carved in the ceramic. None of it polished, but all of it real. He stood, walked outside with his coffee, and sat on the porch. The air was crisp. No traffic. Just birds and wind and the distant sound of someone chopping wood 2 houses down. Scout laid at his feet, tail thumping once. Logan took a breath. No weight on his chest. No memory pulling him backward. For the first time in years, his head and heart were in the same place. Still. Safe. Clear. The beach wasn't far. About a 40-minute drive. Long enough to feel like a reset, short enough to go without planning. Logan took the trip on instinct. No playlist. No destination. Just him and Scout, and a beat-up thermos filled with hot coffee. When they arrived, the beach was empty. Wind curling over the shoreline, gulls dipping low over the water. He didn't need a crowd. He needed quiet. He walked barefoot across the sand, boots in one hand, Scout sprinting ahead with pure joy, tongue out, digging into the surf like the world had never been cruel. Logan laughed. Really laughed. For the first time in what felt like forever. Not because something was funny, but because something was finally over. He sat down on the sand, cross-legged, letting the breeze carry away the last of the old noise. All the pretending, all the performing, all the trying to fix someone who never wanted to be fixed. He pulled out his notebook, the same one where he tracked his revenge, his strategy, his pain. Now it only had 1 page left. He turned to it and wrote, I survived. I healed. I lived. And I'm not missing anymore. He tore the page out, folded it once, and buried it under a small pile of stones by the waterline. Not as a goodbye, as a marker, proof that he made it. He sat there for a long time after that, coffee cooling in the thermos, the world quiet around him. Not happy, not sad, just still. Peace. The mirror in Logan's hallway still had that one crack in the corner. He never replaced it. Not because he couldn't, but because it reminded him some things break, and that's okay. Not everything has to be fixed to be lived with. He looked into it now. Different man. Same eyes, but sharper, calmer, real. The war was over. He no longer needed updates, proof, or apologies. He didn't look over his shoulder. He didn't check old links, or social posts, or court files. He was free. Scout barked once from the kitchen. Food bowl empty, again. Logan smiled. All right. You win. He poured food into the bowl, scratched behind Scout's ears, and walked back to the front door. Pulled it open. Fresh air, sky wide. Morning stretching ahead like a blank page. He stepped out, shut the door behind him, and paused. Not to look back, just to feel the moment. Because sometimes the most powerful ending isn't dramatic. It's quiet. It's choosing not to go back. It's letting go without asking for applause. He slid his hands into his jacket pockets and whispered to himself, I'm not missing. I'm not broken. I'm just done. And with that, he walked forward. You've been here from the beginning. From the moment Logan vanished without a word, to every message, every camera feed, every move he made in silence. But now it's your turn to speak. So tell us, how did you experience this story? Were you angry? Empowered? Shocked? Satisfied? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Be honest. Be raw. This story was never just about revenge. It was about truth. And hey, if this hit different, don't just scroll past. Like the video. Hit that subscribe button. And for the love of second chances, smash that bell icon so you never miss what we drop next. Because stories like this, they don't end. They evolve. Tell us where you watch from. Tell us how it made you feel. We'll be reading every single comment. This was, I'm missing after discover my wife's affair. Took her 9 days to notice my side was empty. And now, we're done.